Hello and welcome back to the Bookcast. This is season 3 of the Bookcast, which is my platform for sharing short fiction and updates on books by D.L. White. D.L. White is me. I'm an Atlanta-based author of romantic fiction featuring Black men and women. You can buy my books at booksbydlwhite.com/books or your favorite online retail store or your favorite Black-owned independent bookstore. My favorite is Resist Booksellers. You can hit them at resistbooksellers.com. All of my books are listed there, and you can buy print copies of my books there. You can buy print copies from me personally. If you hit my store directly, it's payhip.com/books by D.L. White. Today is Saturday, March 11th, I think. Yes, it's Saturday, March 11th. It is 9:53 a.m. I have my coffee. I have my friends inside the computer that help me be a better person. Settle in for a rambling episode of hodgepodge and I don't know, what do they call it? A smorgasbord, as you will, of bookish topics. I'm going to update you on what I've been reading. I haven't been writing, but I do have a plan to write, and that's almost as good as writing. Like I always say, thinking is writing, and I usually have to think a lot before I start writing, and I've been thinking a lot. So I do think that writing is upon us. So I'm going to have a quick sip of coffee and we shall begin. So my new listeners, people who have found me via the Bookcast, I want to say welcome. Thank you so much for lending me your ears and listening to my voice. Sometimes I ramble. Sometimes I read a little something. Sometimes I have a rant. But every week I want to come to you with something. I wasn't actually going to do an episode today. I was laying in bed thinking, nah, I'm not doing an episode today. But I decided that I've started a routine and I really like routine. I'm a creature of habit. And so I felt weird because I wasn't getting up to do an episode. So I got up and I made my coffee and I'm here at the desk. I want to talk a little bit about what I've been reading because I am a reader first. Yes, I write books, but I inhale them first, and then out comes all of the art that is inspired by what I've been reading. So I'm going to my books page here on Goodreads, which I fully admit to being addicted to. I did try Storygraph. I don't like it. It's too something for me. It's too something. It's very black and white, plain, and it's a lot of clicky. I don't like it. I kind of gave up on it. Please forgive me. So this week I got in some pretty good reading. I think I talked about Black Candle Women last week. I had wanted to get it read by Pub Day, but didn't listen to it on audio. I read In the Key of Love, which is a indie romance by Te Russ. She writes just some like really good love 'em up kind of books. That one was a good read. I listened to A Dangerously High Threshold for Pain by Imani Perry. That is an Audible original. I was hipped to the existence of this by my good friend, Dr. Raymond Williams. He is a very modest person, and he kind of will snarl when we call him Dr. Raymond Williams, but it's my bookcast, so I can call him Doctor if I want to. Dr. Williams, I'm laughing because I'm gonna get it, and I'm looking forward to it. Told us that this was up on Audible, and he is not much of an audiobook person, so when he said he actually listened to an audiobook, I was like, you have changed, Ray. But it's only available on audio. And so it was the only way he could read this. This was actually really good. It's like a mini biography, autobiography, but surrounded around her experiences, talking about her health issues. I won't spoil anything for you, but it's about a 2-hour listen. Very good. And then I listened to Britt Bennett's Some People Have Real Problems, which was also a very short listen. Also very good. I like Britt Bennett a lot. Some People Have Real Problems is also an Audible original by Britt Bennett. I listened to that. Then I read Rootless by Crystal Zara Apia. I hope I'm saying that right. I believe that released on Tuesday the 7th. I didn't like this book so much. It like the writing was good. I I just, the execution was not my favorite. I'm reading back on my review. I really struggled through it. I wanted to DNF it, but I powered through, mostly because it was an advanced reader copy. I wanted to give it a chance. The writing is good. She's a great writer. It was the execution. It was a slow, sad, depressing, infuriating novel about a woman who feels trapped in the life she finds herself to be in. She's married, she's working, then she gets pregnant, and I just was mad at everybody. About halfway through, I was just mad at everybody. Her husband, Sam, her mother, her aunt, her sister, everybody kind of failed her. And the ending to this book, I will not spoil, but I will just say you want to be ready for it. So that was Rootless by Crystal Zara Appia. And I don't know if this is a debut. I heard it was a debut, but there are some content warnings that this book needs for child loss, cutting, depression, parental abandonment. The last book I just finished it last night, was Hannah Mary Tabbs and the Disembodied Torso, A Tale of Race, Sex, and Violence in America by Collie Nicole Gross. I read this for a buddy read with the Black Reader Experience, which is a group we have on Instagram. Those are my Bookstagram buds. This book was drier than I like. Like this is my catnip kind of thing. Like this is something that I would watch a documentary on. The text of this book is super straightforward and just laying out the facts. It's not narrative nonfiction like Henrietta Lacks, which I felt had a better execution. It was just straight layout facts of the case. And it was just super dry for me. I probably wouldn't have finished it if it wasn't a buddy read. The crux of this case is the investigating police force trying to figure out if this disembodied torso was that of a white person, in which case somebody was murdered and somebody got to pay, or a Negro person, in which case it doesn't matter. So a lot of the science and the going back and forth and the investigation of this case is trying to find the killer and then trying to determine who the dead person is. That's my understanding of the book. We're going to discuss this book on Instagram on March 31st. I believe it's at 8 p.m. on the Black Reader Experience. It's going to be an Instagram Live. I am not personally discussing it, but the Black Reader Experience team, which is Gracia, History with Her, Kay the Reader, and Dr. Raymond Williams, are going to be discussing this book. So I'm kind of interested in the resulting conversation. This is probably not a book I would have picked up to read on my own, despite the fact that I do like kind of gory stuff like that. Stuff like, I love Forensic Files. I love The New Detectives, stuff like that, but it's always based in science, and it always tells a story. It's not really just like laying out, the facts like it's an academic paper. That is what I got through this week. This week I am reading Flyy Girl by Omar Tyree. I have never read an Omar Tyree book in my life. I didn't grow up in an area where those books were plentiful. If we got Terry McMillan and Eric Jerome Dickey, we were extremely lucky. So I have never read some of these Black classics that everyone else has read. So I joined the Book Talk Black Book Club. Say that 7 times fast. Can't do it. So we are reading Flyy Girl this month, and we are reading Women, Race, and Class. Let me just be honest. I can't wait until Flyy Girl is over. I don't want to finish reading this book. I'm 30% in, and I'm like, what is happening? It is just basically all about these like middle school, high school age kids, and them like meeting boys and falling in love and figure out what's going on with their parents. And it's told from the point of view of young people. I don't feel like this is a young adult novel. And maybe when I was younger, I would have really dug this, but I will be 49 in a couple of weeks, and I am not interested in these fast children. I'm just not. I want it to be over. So I am not going to give up. I know I could DNF it. And if I wasn't reading it for a book club, I would. This is why I don't do book clubs, because now I feel obligated to finish this book so I can discuss it. I don't really be liking this book. Flyy Girl, Omar, Tyree. Let me know what y'all think or thought about this book. I'm sure I would have loved it when I was younger, but I'm old. And no. The other book we're going to read is Women, Race, and Class. I'm looking up the author right now. I don't know who it is, but I feel like I'll enjoy that a little bit better. It's probably a little more cerebral than Flyy Girl. So looking forward to moving on to that one. Some other books that I need to be reading this month is, of course, Lone Women, which I think comes out on the 14th. I would have to look it up. And I'm going to do that because this is my podcast and I can. It's live TV, people. I normally have this all planned out in my calendar, but it's easier to just look it up. So on March 14th, I have You Never Know by Connie Briscoe, who is not a Black author, but the book sounded good. I think this is a thriller, a domestic thriller, domestic suspense novel. Lone Women by Victor Laval is coming up on March 28th. The Build Up by Tati Richardson is coming up on March 28th, and Not So Perfect Strangers by L.S. Stratton, my girl Shelley, is coming up on March 28th, and Those Empty Eyes by Charlie Donnelly, who is also a thriller writer, is coming up on March 28th. So there's a few, I have a few arcs that are coming up all on the same day, which means I need to start reading now so that I can get some of these, read and reviewed on or before Pub Day. I am going to be a busy, busy girl. On the writing front, I have not been writing. I have been thinking, as I mentioned in the intro. I booked a trip for myself, a little 4-day beach trip at the end of March. And that's usually a great time for me to start writing. I've got an idea for like a cute springtime novella. So I want to spend some time in the weeks leading up to my trip to just get some planning done, pick out my characters, pull out my character worksheets that Tasha L. Harrison so generously lays out for us when she does the 20K in 5 days challenge. I'm going to use some of that to just start like planning and digging into my story so that by the time I hit my hotel room, I'm ready to pull out my laptop, or I have an iPad with a keyboard on it and I can access Dabble Writer on that. Just start pounding out some words, maybe get a few words out before I leave. It's been a long time since I have actually been excited about writing something. So I am looking forward to having that time to get some words down. I won't finish it that weekend, but the goal will be just to get some momentum, get started, get to that point of no return where now I know how it's going to end and I'm just galloping toward the end point. The goal would be to try to have something out before spring, and then at the same time start thinking about what else I want to release this year. I do have another Potter Lake book in my brain. I just hit a wall and I don't know what to do with it now, but been thinking about that. Also still thinking about that PI novel that I want to write. So I do have things in my brain. I just have to put my butt in the seat and think and plan, and that's something that I have been actually looking into lately. I read a post from a person on Substack named Monica Leonelle, and she has a Substack called Aggressively Wide. And for those who aren't hip, wide publishing is considered publishing outside of a single retail platform. If you are only on Amazon, that's not wide publishing. Wide publishing is Amazon plus Barnes and Noble plus Kobo plus Apple Books plus Google Play. Wide publishing is publishing outside of the Amazon atmosphere, I guess we call it. I have only had 2 sips of coffee. I found a post on Aggressively Wide where she talks about what kind of wide author are you, and it's based on personality type. Like I love a personality type. I love anything that can tell me about myself. So Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, Clifton Strengths, and how is it helping you or challenging you to succeed at going wide or growing wide? And so this is a thing I've been digging into this week that I'm not really ready to share the whole thing because I am looking for something that folds everything in together so I can see across the broad spectrum. Here are all of my positive attributes. Here are all of my challenging attributes. I'm not going to say negative, but there's things I do well and things I don't do well, or things I need to think about, or things I need to consider that may be contrary to how other people think or act or believe. I want something that takes all of these attributes from all of these personality tests and quizzes and systems and kind of folds it all into one, because right now I have multiple parts and I need to figure out like what's the puzzle? How do they all fit together to create me? And then how do I use that to my advantage? So Monica says she's in Enneagram 3, which is an achiever type and motivated by external validation. She's an ENTP, so she seeks new things and turning it into business ideas. And her Clifton strengths are strategic, communication, futuristic, activator, and ideation. I have taken all of those personality tests and looked at mine, and I'm trying to figure out now what is the intersection between Clifton, Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, all of them. How do all of those things make me? And now what do I do with this? So I looked up mine and I want to share because it's my bookcast and I can. My top 5 Clifton strength themes. And this came to me by, of course, the Becca Stein Better Faster course. She runs the Quickcast. It's on YouTube and there's all kinds of interesting info about each strength and how you use that strength to push your writing forward. Because if you are looking at your writing and you're looking at such and such author and how they do things and try to replicate their success, it's not going to work because you're not that person. Their strength might be the complete opposite of yours and they're using their strength to their advantage. What's your strength? You need to use your strength to your advantage. So my top 5 Clifton strengths, number 1 is intellection for me. Intellection is characterized by intellectual activity. Obviously, they're introspective and appreciate intellectual discussions. And I do. It's me and documentaries. It's me and cerebral books. It's me and all my nerdy, brainy, cerebral, weird-ishness. That's my intellection. Number 2 is input. Have a craving to know more. Duh, that's very me. Often they like to collect and archive all kinds of information. And input, I think, is where that's my strongest strength when it comes to writing, because I like to think for a very long time. I like to collect information and archive that information so that my characters are real 3D people in my mind. Like when I finish writing a book, I'm sad because these people don't exist and I don't actually know them. They are that real in my brain. Number 3 is relator. I enjoy close relationships with others. I find deep satisfaction in working hard with friends to achieve a goal. I'm all about it. Number 4 is responsibility. I take psychological ownership of what I say I will do. I'm committed to stable values such as honesty and loyalty. If that's not me, I don't know what is. I am a habitual rule follower. I own it until it's done. I have a situation at work where a function, a process is moving from my organization to another organization, and I'm right in the middle of setting meetings, and I could absolutely dump this project on somebody else because it's difficult. It's a difficulty of 12 out of 10, but I haven't given it up because I own it until it's done. And my new boss says, Dom, I thought you weren't going to do those anymore. And I said, I know. I am going to turn it over. But first, I am not done with this portion. And so the last meeting, I believe the last meeting that needs to be set happens on Monday. And then I am fully transferring that over. But for me to dump that on somebody else, I couldn't do it. I own it. Psychological ownership. And number 5 is adaptability. Prefer to go with the flow. They tend to be now people who take things as they come and discover the future one day at a time. Let me just tell you, I don't plan out my podcast episodes. I don't plan out my promo. I wake up and I decide what I'm going to do for the day. And I pick a book and I promo it. I create the promo. I pick out the prompt, I pick out the quote, whatever. I don't plan any of that out. That whole, you can plan all your promotion 30 days out. No, I can't. Like nothing sounds more boring to me than spending a Sunday afternoon planning out 4 weeks of promotion. Like what if I don't feel like promoting that? I don't meal plan because I might get up in the morning and not want to eat that I planned to eat that day. Adaptability. It's 100% me. So the other system is the Enneagram, which I just started getting into within the last few years, but I find it really interesting. I am an Enneagram 9, wing 1, which means I'm mostly 9, but I do show some characteristics of a 1. 9s tend to identify more with the type 9, but share several traits with the type 1, hardworking, creative, friendly in behavior, generally more idealistic and serious than other 9s. I know it doesn't seem like it, like I'm hardly ever serious, but I think I am more serious than the average person, if that makes any sense. Like I'm a jokey joke. I'm very sarcastic. I have a dry wit. My humor is super straightforward. I'm not wacky. I do like, being funny. I like to find the humor in things. Things are funny because they're true, but I am also entirely more serious, I think, than a lot of people. Hence my love for a good documentary. I've been watching a lot of documentaries this week on eating disorders and like birth defects and things like that. Like stuff like that's interesting to me. It's an interesting thing. And Enneagram 9s are afraid of being separated from the rest of the world and losing what matters to them. They desire peace, both internally and externally. Their type 1 wing encourages them to make their idealized, peaceful world a reality. And I see that as like my bedroom here. I rent a room in a home from a homeowner, and inside this room is my peace. This is my world. I have on my TV screen, I run a YouTube channel that is just like the Monterey Bay aquarium. It's just peaceful, like water sounds and, a peaceful view. I've got, my desk that faces the window so I can see this tree outside my window. Like I bought a bed that I really like that is comfortable. I got my books on my nightstand. I've got, my desk all set up to where everything is within reach. If you could see my desk, maybe I'll upload a picture. I have NSYNC bobbleheads on my desk because they make me happy. They're just here. And like when I walk, their heads bobble. That's very fun and comforting to me. That's part of my world. This is my comfort zone. This is where I live. Enneagram 9s are called negotiators or peacemakers. Negotiators defend themselves by participating heavily in routine to distract themselves and avoid negative emotions. And that's very, very much me. Enneagram 9 wing 1 personalities tend to seek routine and moral action, fear misfortune and isolation, be optimistic and orderly, avoid disturbing peace and balance, and try to numb themselves to their problems. I wrote a whole bunch of stuff down here about Enneagram 9s, but moving on to the INTJ, which is the Myers-Briggs. I am an INTJ, which is named the architect, introverted, intuitive, thinking, and judging person. They are analytic problem solvers, eager to improve systems and processes with their innovative ideas. This is very me at work, very, very me at work. There are 2 INTJ subtypes, INTJ-A and INTJ-T. I am an INT. I think I am, let's see, an A is the assertive and the T is turbulent. Yeah, no, I'm definitely an assertive architect. The INTJ-A tends to have more self-confidence than INTJ-T, particularly when handling life's up and downs. If things don't go the way they expect, an INTJ-A is not likely to second guess their initial actions or experience regret. turbulent architect has a greater concern about the areas where they may fall short, whether in reality or perception. They also tend to use this concern to their advantage by pushing themselves harder and paying more attention to detail. INTJs tend to be introverted. Absolutely. Prefer to work alone. I could be in this room all day, 24/7, 365. I'm good. They're self-confident and hardworking, which is a strength. However, it can also be a weakness as they may come across as insensitive or callous. Yes. An INTJ looks at the big picture and likes to focus on abstract information rather than concrete details. They also tend to be a perfectionist. Yes. Someone with an INTJ personality places greater emphasis on logic and objective information rather than subjective emotions. Talking about emotions makes them uncomfortable. Yes. Why do I write romance? I do not know, but it is where my brain goes when I think of a new story. But yes, INTJs like a world with control and order. As a result, they prefer to make plans well in advance. Some INTJs may even employ manipulation to get a specific outcome. I find this contradictory with my adaptability strength because while I do like to wait until the day of and not plan out my podcast episodes, I don't plan out my promo, I am never going to book myself on a trip tomorrow. I need more time. I need to know well in advance what's coming up. Like if it comes to my job, I need to know well in advance what's up because I have a step-by-step procedure that I need to follow. And in order to make sure everything gets done right, I need time. I wouldn't say I am spontaneous because even though I don't plan out my podcast episodes, I kind of know what I'm going to talk about. Even though I don't plan out my promo a week or a month in advance, I kind of know what book I want to promote that day. And so I'm looking for the quotes and I'm looking for the appropriate picture and I'm picking out the song and I know in my head where I'm going, even though I can't jump in the seat and pound out a book tomorrow. I have been thinking about that book for a considerable amount of time before I can sit down and, sit in the chair and pound out words to create book. People with an INTJ personality type are introverted, reserved, and spend a lot of time in their own mind. Yes. They work best by themselves and strongly prefer solitary activities to group work. Yes. While they tend not to be particularly interested in other people's thoughts and feelings, INTJs do care about the emotions of select groups of people with whom they are close. Yes. In personal relationships, INTJs are willing to devote time and energy toward making those relationships successful. Yes. So just sharing a little bit of where I'm going in my research, not so much about myself, but about the personality characteristics that make me, me, and then how to use those characteristics to the best of my abilities in my day job and in my career as an author. So really digging into that. I'm still, like I said, looking for a resource that kind of ties everything together. Like, I don't know if I need to make a grid or something, but I am looking for the string that ties everything together. And I really kind of have a hodgepodge right now, but maybe I'll spend some time on my vacation in between writing to really dig into that. I know Becca Syme has one episode up about strengths and the Enneagram, and I listened to it, but I didn't really feel like there was anything there that tied the two systems together, and that's what I'm looking for. So hopefully she'll have more episodes on that and more details digging into that. And I, of course, been getting my Google on, really looking into it. But I wanted to thank Monica at Aggressively Wide for bringing that up because that's something that I really feel like I could dig deep into and find out more about me. I want to thank you all for joining me for that long ramble about me. If you made it through that, you deserve several cookies. As I mentioned, it is Saturday. It is a day off. It is a day of enjoyment. I've got some podcasts loaded up. I've got a book I need to finish reading. Y'all, I don't want to finish reading Flyy Girl. oh God, I'm going to drag myself through it. And then this afternoon, my Saturdays are usually spent in the comments of a comedy podcast that tapes on Saturday. As a patron, I am allowed to sit in the comments while they tape on Zoom. So that's what I usually do for about 4 hours on Saturday. Tomorrow, I'm having brunch with a friend of mine. Her name is Tina. She writes a blog called The Tina Situation. She hasn't updated in a while, but hopefully this podcast episode will nudge her a little bit. So she just took her CPA exam and we are going to celebrate it. So I'm excited to see her and catch up. It's been a minute since we had brunch. We used to have a monthly brunch and then we kind of fell out of habit over the winter, but daylight savings time is tomorrow and your girl is awake. Your girl feels alive. Your girl feels renewed and she has vigor and hope. And it was a long, dark, cold winter, but I feel like I'm waking up and that's awesome. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Bookcast. I hope you have a fantastic weekend and a superlative week. We will talk again next weekend.